Welcome to the What You Don't Know podcast, brought to you by the Know Like Trust Report, the simple, actionable survey that only asks the most important questions. So today, we are excited to have as our guest Debbie Z. Lattuga, who is a business coach. And Debbie, let's just go right into it. So, Debbie, tell us first about your business. Just go ahead and give us the description of what you do. What is your business?
Yeah. So I help small to medium sized business owners increase profit. I find that most business owners are really good at their craft, whatever it is they sell or produce, and yet struggle to understand the profit levers of their business. And I've run several businesses and I've been coaching for a lot of years. And I realize there's some pretty predictable levers that increase profit. And for whatever reason, it's not well known to business owners what those levers are. So I help business owners identify those levers, and then I help them move them or turn those dials so that they can increase profit in their business.
Nice. That's a fun visual. Do you
Yeah.
have like a design, like a graphic of that, the levers?
I don't have a graphic, but I guess I'll be working with the large language models or AI in creating a visual graphic.
Yeah.
What I do use is a business assessment, right? A series of questions that are
Okay.
centered around the levers to identify which levers might be applicable to your business versus which levers you may already be turning and already be aware of. So I
Okay.
do use kind of a qualitative assessment to help business owners figure out which levers are right for them.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be fun to have like an infographic of levers.
Yeah.
That'd be really
Yeah.
fun. So we learned about your business. So tell us a little bit about you. So 3 things. Something that will help people get to know you, and then help people get to like you, and then help people trust you.
Yeah, so that's really a good question. And that really is what I help business owners understand, right? Is their ability to generate more profit is based on their ability to get potential customers to know, like, and trust them, right? And so, how do we set up predictable pathways or a buyer journey that allows someone to come in and start to get to know you, then get to like you, and then start to get to trust you. On the no part, I moved from the East Coast of the United States to the West Coast of the United States about 6 months ago because my children are West Coasters. And I always said if there was an opportunity where they were both on the same coast, that I would endeavor to be there. And then I kind of picked my head up one day and kind of went, wait, I'm a business coach and I work remotely. I could live anywhere. So literally spent the next year selling all the things I had, and happy to say that I've made the transition and I love it. I just
Wow.
love the West Coast. I love being in the seasons because I had been in Florida, which is lovely. Love everything about it. But now I'm excited to be somewhere else where the seasons. So that would be the no part.
Yeah.
Like part, I think that's determined by the other person, right? I don't know if there's things that we can do necessarily that cause people to like us other than to be kind, right? To
Mhm.
be thoughtful of other people. But I will share another tidbit of how to get to know me, which I think also is another way for someone to understand you, to determine if you're someone that they would like.
Yeah.
Um, I also grew a lot of orchids in Florida. I'm a big fan of growing orchids, whether
Okay.
it's outside in Florida or inside in the Pacific Northwest. And I've read a lot of books about them and I've learned all about how to grow them and keep them alive. So it's lovely to
Wow.
have blooming flowers in the house almost year round.
Oh my gosh. We could do a whole podcast on orchids. It sounds like.
I would love that.
That's so
I
cool.
know enough about it, or I failed enough. That's what I would say. I
Right?
failed enough to
Yeah.
have learned enough about it.
Right. That's so cool. All right. Well, that
And then
sounds
your
cool.
last question was trust. And I really believe that trust is earned, not assigned. So,
Mm-hmm.
in order to trust someone, you have to spend enough time getting to know them, spend enough time to determine that you like them. And it's only through time that trust happens. And it happens over what I would call micro agreements. So, if, for instance, you stumble across my website and you sign up for my newsletter, you might still not trust me because I have information you're interested in, but that first newsletter that comes out to you, you go, "Oh, okay, that was pretty valuable. That's interesting." Then the next one comes out, and each of those become ladders that trust is built on. Unfortunately, trust can be broken in a moment. So
Mm-hmm.
I can be building the trust, building trust, and I do something that's untrustworthy and I can instantly break it. So trust, I believe, is something that's built over time, and
Mm-hmm.
then continuing to receive it is earned. And
Yeah.
if you do anything that breaks it, you can rebuild trust once it's broken, but you start at the beginning, right? And you have to start over.
Yeah. That's really great. Those were some really great thoughts. And I have been in that situation where I kind of do that to myself, where I'm just like, I thought I was building trust, and I feel like I set myself back. And so I'm very high self monitor. So I kind of go over things that I said, like, did I say something wrong? Did I do something wrong? So yeah, so I get that. That's really interesting. All right, cool. Well, let's talk about feedback as a business coach. And when I think about business coaches, I think that if somebody's going to hire you to be their business coach, that means they are open to your feedback. So, of course, there has to be some know, like, trust built to get to that level. But it's crazy to think, because I know I've been in situations before where I've seen something going on and I'm like, man, if I could just tell them what's going on, that would be so great. But they never asked for my feedback. So I'll talk a little bit about how important feedback is as a business coach.
Well, I think it's important as a human, right? So not just as a business coach, but as a human. And so um, you're very wise in saying if feedback isn't asked for, it will tend not to be well received. So offering
Mhm.
feedback where it's not where they're not open to it. We've all had that experience. We've had a friend doing something silly and we tell that friend that they're doing something silly and they're
Yeah.
like, "You're not the boss of me. You don't have the right to," because they haven't asked for it. So a
Mhm.
coaching client in theory is asking for 100% feedback. But one of the things I do at the beginning of our relationship, I think is really critical. Feedback can still be tricky to deliver as a coach, right? It can be tricky to receive. Someone gives you feedback that makes you feel a negative way, can be difficult to receive. So one of the things I do is I set up my coaching relationships. In our very first conversation, when we've agreed to work together, is I ask them to what degree I can be honest with them. How honest do you want me to be with you? And very often they say a 9 or a 10. Sometimes someone will say, well, an 8, because you can be honest, but can you be nice about it, right? So here's where they're thinking they're going to be getting this feedback delivered in a negative way,
Mhm.
right? So, and then I say, I'm going to give you permission. This also opens up my ability to receive feedback from them. Is I'm going to give you permission to be a 10, honest with me. So if I say something that you don't like, that hurts your feelings, that feels disrespectful, that feels insensitive, I'm giving you permission right now to be 100% honest with me. And you actually don't even need to package it nicely. You can simply say, when you said that, it made me feel like you were judging me. Because guess what? I can grow. And if I know how something makes, I can promise you that whatever I delivered, I did not intend to deliver in a way that made them feel bad. If it did, then I need to know that. I need to understand that my delivery of feedback was not received in the way it was intended. What that also does is that because we've had that honesty discussion, they now know that I'm never going to speak to them in a way that is intended to hurt them because we just had that discussion. They'll now know. Now, here's where the value of having that discussion at the beginning of the relationship. And oh,
Yep.
by the way, if you're in the middle of a relationship and you haven't had that discussion, it's never too late to have that honesty discussion.
Okay.
Like to have it at the beginning, but it can be had right now. Listen, on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe I realized I haven't been 100% honest with you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how honest would you like me to be? Right? So that you're now then opening that door. But here's
Wow.
why I like it. Because now when I do have feedback to deliver that I know might not land softly,
Mm-hmm.
they're late to our last 3 coaching calls,
Yeah.
10 minutes. And now I really feel like I need to address it. Well, they're not going to be comfortable when I say, "Hey, you've been late. That's unacceptable," right? So now because I've had this honesty conversation, I could say, "Hey, you know, I've noticed something that's going on that's been bothering me a little bit." And when we first had our first conversation, you said that I could be 100% honest with you. I have to deliver some information that that might be a little bit uncomfortable. So I just want to remind you that you asked me to be 100% honest with you. Is it okay if I'm honest with you now? So they're
Yeah.
kind of set up and braced and ready. And of course, I would say, "Look, I've noticed that you've been showing up consistently 10 minutes late, and I get it. You're a busy person. And I just want to make sure, though, that we're honoring this time. I've devoted this time to you. I don't have anything else on my agenda. I closed down my email. I closed down my text message so I can be 100% present for you. Let me ask you, are you committed to solving these issues we've identified with your business?" Yeah. "So what can we do to ensure that you're here on time every week?"
Nice.
So I'm not making them wrong. I'm saying I noticed something that's a problem. How are we going to solve it? That's a
Yeah.
great way to deliver feedback rather than saying this is unacceptable, blah, 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 right? The feedback just negatively. How are we going to solve this together?
So this reminds me of Bar Rescue. And while he can be harsh, sometimes he says exactly that. He says, "What are we going to do to solve this problem?" And he just lays it out to let them respond to it. So I love that you you say what the problem is, and then you say, "How can we solve this problem?"
Yeah.
And that's really nice. I like that. I was also going to ask, I was going to ask, has there been a situation when your feedback made a really nice impact on something? Do you have any really cool stories that you could share?
Well, almost every week. I mean, as a coach, I think that's kind of what I do
Yeah,
every time I meet with a client.
yeah.
Um, I had a coaching client that hadn't shown up for 2 appointments, had had situations in their business
Hmm.
that caused them to not make their appointments. At the beginning of our relationship, I talk about the value of consistency, that if we need to reschedule, that it's really important that we not miss a week. Now, in this scenario, they weren't able to reschedule either week.
Mm.
Um, and so prior to our third meeting, I sent feedback about here's the problems we're looking to address. Showing up consistently is the way we're going to solve them.
Mm.
And if you don't show up, we're not going to be able to solve it. So I
Yeah.
kind of gave feedback on the fact that they had missed a couple, maybe through no fault of their own. But I also knew that if we don't get back on track quickly, there's a chance that that sort of gap can linger on. And they showed up to the call and said, "Thank you so much. It's exactly what I needed. I do want to
Wow,
solve this problem. I'm committed to, showing up and taking action."
that's good. What kind of businesses do you work with?
Usually small to medium sized business. So usually in the million to $20 million range in revenue, not profit. And usually my favorite is service based businesses. Now,
Okay.
if I ever talked with a business owner that I thought I couldn't help, I would tell them I don't have expertise. I've never worked with nonprofits. I think they have a unique um, profitability challenge that's
Hmm.
not my expertise. So I probably would pass them along to a colleague versus to work with them because I don't have expertise. But I would determine if I felt like I could help them, and I would also make it very easy for them to say that they didn't think I was helping them, right? So we would probably do like a shortened agreement because I wasn't 100%. And I would tell them, "I've not worked with this kind of business. I'm pretty confident I can help you, but why don't we create a shortened agreement to start to just test the waters?" But I
Okay.
love service based businesses because I love sales. Because I
Okay.
believe sales is service. When you really sell at a high level, it's because you want to serve your client at a really high level and you
Mhm.
know you have a solution to your client's problem. And so you're passionate about helping them see that your solution can help them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like one of the ways that I can increase profit is helping their sales cycle
Okay.
because in that usually doesn't cost any money. If you have 10 appointments a month and you close two, if I can help you close three,
Yeah.
doesn't cost
Absolutely.
anything to do that, right? And now you're making more sales on the same number of clients.
Hmm. What about, I was going to ask you, how do you determine that you could help them?
So our business assessment that I use when I interview a potential client, which I offer for free, it's a 1 hour assessment
Okay.
that'll show them how they can double their profit in the next year. And then they walk away with a 17-page report. That assessment
Wow.
usually tells me if none of the categories that I know that are profit levers in a business, if none of them apply to that business. Now,
Okay.
can I coach outside of profit? Yes. So I do have a client that is looking to leverage themselves out of the business. So they're focusing on systems and hiring. Now, I have a lot of expertise in that area. So it's not based on the assessment, but my own personal expertise. So
Mm.
I'm actually coaching them outside of the assessment. I'm
Oh,
helping them determine the right sort of manager to hire. I'm helping them systemize their business so that the manager will be able to then get everybody trained because everything is already predetermined in a process. So it's really based on my own expertise and whether or not the assessment identifies. I like to say here, I'll put it in a nutshell. I like to find out if they have a Debbie shaped hole in their business.
yeah.
And if they have a Debbie shaped hole, then I think I can help them.
Hmm.
So my goal is to ask enough questions around my expertise to find
Yeah.
out if they have a gap in that.
Okay. And what is your website, by the way?
So it's debbiezcoaching.com.
Okay. And you said you have a newsletter?
Yep, there's a newsletter that goes out from there. There you can also register for an assessment there. There's no charge.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Fun.
And I also have some
I'm gonna make
ancillary
sure.
products. I have some a recorded library on financial training for business owners that they
Okay.
can purchase, right? If they want to up their skill in understanding the financial terms of their business. And
Mhm.
I also have a self-guided coaching program for those
Wow.
people that aren't quite ready for a coach, but they're very self-motivated to work through. They get um, a weekly video and workbook that
Nice.
actually covers all the profit levers that I work with one-on-one with my clients. So
Wow.
there's
That
lots
sounds
of
cool.
different ways you
Oh my
can
gosh.
you
That
can
sounds really
learn
interesting.
from my business.
Yeah, I will make sure to put the link on the at the end of the podcast too. Yeah.
Great.
So let's talk about how your coaching has evolved based on feedback that you've gotten. And it's interesting. I find feedback to be either direct feedback or potentially like spontaneous feedback. Like something somebody didn't say, but you said, you know what, I think I can make a change based on that occurrence, that thing that happened. It's like spontaneous feedback. So how long have you been coaching?
I feel like I was born a coach. I always feel
Yeah.
like I've had a knack of seeing pathways where other people saw obstacles, right? Or roadblocks.
Nice. Okay.
Always seem to have that ability. I got my official coaching training more than a dozen years ago where I actually learned how to coach.
Okay.
And then I've had life lessons, like I've been a CEO of a company, and that's where I learned about the profit levers, right? So there's all these different sort of stepping stones that led me to this. But there
Okay.
was a pretty significant moment. It was during the pandemic, and I was coaching at that time, but I would say I was more process coaching, meaning I was helping people identify the challenges they were experiencing in their business and helping them overcome them.
Mhm.
Whether it needed to be hiring someone or whether it needs to be documenting the processes. So I was much more of a process business coach.
Okay.
And when the pandemic came, I took a marketing class, and the marketing talked about having a powerful offer. And it made me start to ask the question of what's my powerful offer, right? If someone said, what's it like to coach someone? The answer is you ask them lots of questions and figure out what the roadblocks are, and then you help them figure out the pathway forward. Well, what is that really? If you said to someone, here, I'm going to ask you questions, I'm going to identify what your challenges are, and then help you figure out a pathway, would you like to hire me as a coach? They're going to be like, well, I don't really understand what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
And so I realized that business coaching, there's really two types of business coaching. There's process business coaching, and then there's profit business coaching. And they're both great, right? They both have a value, but I realized that I had been coaching around process. That was very difficult to communicate to a business owner. I'll help you get more time in your business, and I'll help you identify the processes of your business so that we can systemize them. And business owners hear the words, but they can't really internalize, what does that mean? How will my life change? And this marketing class told me about the transformation, specifically for coaches. What transformation do you offer? More time? More happiness are not really quantifiable. But
Hmm.
if I say to you, I help you increase your profit, period. You're not, you
Let's
might
do it.
not know how I do it, but you know
Yeah.
exactly what that means.
Hmm.
And it's measurable. You can actually tell 3 months into our relationship, is it working or is it not working? Am I making more profit or am I not making more profit? Now, I still have the ability to coach around all those other things around process. If you want to make more profit and figure out how to hire a manager, I can do that. But it's the overlay is profit. I like to say I show them how I can help them with profit. And then when we work together, I simply help with them with whatever their greatest need is. So if we start working together and they're like, well, I really need to hire a manager, we pivot and we stop talking about profit and we talk about the hiring process, and we get that manager hired, and then we move back into the profit coaching.
Okay. That's really cool. Have you ever felt like an organization could use you and you just basically cold called? You were just like, I'm going to see if I can get my foot in the door with this company.
All the time.
Yeah.
Because it's a numbers game. Here's the myth that most people have. Most lead generation works. You want to
Mostly
post on
generation
social
works.
media? That can work. Do you
Okay.
want to create an email newsletter? That can work. Do you want to have a brick and mortar building and put a sign up? That can work. Do you want to network? That can work. Do you want to start a podcast? That can work. They all work. They work with different conversion factors, but cold calling absolutely works.
Really?
And because I'm a fan of sales, by the way, an appointment from a cold call is a sales call, right? My goal is not to sell them my services, but to get them to agree to meet with me. So it's a micro sale, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
selling them on the benefit of meeting with me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun
Mhm.
because I've developed some great questions to identify. My favorite method of cold calling is to start with the three biggest problems that the business might have. So if I was cold calling, say, an accountant that I was looking to have them become my client, I might call and say, hey, this is Debbie, and I'm a local business coach. And at the moment, I'm reaching out to accountants because I find that most accountants have three challenges with growing with their business. Number
Mm-hmm.
one, they struggle to get new clients. Number two, they struggle to create value for their clients over and above like tax preparation. Like, how do I help these clients on a greater level other than just doing their taxes? Or they're struggling with staffing, right? With hiring people and managing people. Of those three, what do you think your biggest challenge is?
Nice.
And
I love
sometimes
that.
you're like, oh, I don't have time for this or whatever. But
Yeah.
invariably, they'll answer that question. Oh, my biggest challenge is getting new clients.
Yeah.
Cool. So what have you tried in the past? Well, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. Well, I have a free business assessment, and part of that assessment talks about um, getting more clients. No obligation. It'll take about an hour. Are you open to meeting? You'll walk
Nice.
away with a 17-page report.
Yeah.
Works
And
great.
possibly find ways to get new clients. So in an hour, yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. That's cool. Okay. Thought I had another question for you. I loved how you said lead generations work. That's really,
Everything works.
yeah, that's really interesting. All right. Cool. So also, I want to go back a little bit because we were talking about how you have changed your business based on feedback. And so basically, what I'm hearing is that you went from this idea of process to profit coaching. And so I'm guessing that has made a big impact on your coaching, right?
Well, it's I can network, which is one of my favorite things to do.
Hmm.
And someone says, "What do you do?" I don't say I'm a business coach because everybody's got variety of ideas of what that might mean. I
Okay.
say I help small to medium-sized businesses increase profit. It's
Okay.
tangible, it's measurable, it's very clear.
Yeah.
So, and I did that because saying I'm a business coach and I help businesses identify their biggest challenge and overcome that. Okay, it's just not as clear. So I use the feedback to recognize that describing my business in this way made way more people interested in continuing know, like, and trust. Well, how do you do that? Excuse me. How do you help businesses increase profit? Or what made you be interested in that? Or how did you get there? Right. So it really causes great know, like, and trust when I describe my business that way.
Yeah. It's intriguing. It's they want to learn more.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's really cool. I like that a lot. And what about something recently that you have encountered with this idea of know like trust? And so like right now, what are you working on? Do you have how long do you work with a client? Is it usually 6 months or longer or
It's
3 months?
usually a year, although I have several clients that are multiple years, right? Because they just
Okay.
keep making more profit and we keep finding ways to move forward. They're like,
Nice.
I'd be crazy to, to stop this because every year, we'll double the first year and then we'll add another six figures the next year. And I'm not talking revenue, I'm talking profit,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So when they continue to have success, they stay.
Okay. That's
But
awesome.
most of the clients work for about a year because it takes about a year to work through the strategies that we identify during
Oh,
the
okay.
assessment.
Good to know. Okay.
And we want to work through all of them. But as far as the no like trust factor, so what's happening right now is I moved across the country 6 months ago. So I'm in a new area, don't know many people here. And so I'm networking pretty aggressively, like
Okay.
twice a week. I'm going out to a networking event.
Nice.
And I use the no like trust philosophy in that I'm either going to network with my ideal client or I'm going to network with someone that can refer me to the ideal client. Your pizza restaurant is probably my ideal client and
Okay.
you know them, right? So I'm either going to be speaking to my ideal client or they know my ideal client. But here's the thing. When you meet at a networking event, I don't even know if you've traversed the no. I think you've traversed the like. I think you can meet someone and say, I kind of like that person. Do you know them? Well, I don't know them at all, but I know I like them, right? So now at these networking events, we determine if we like each other. And if we like each other, how do we get to know each other? So I'm a big fan of booking the next call, of booking you want to meet for coffee? Yep. You're not my ideal client, but yes, I want to meet for coffee. But here's why. Because you will never refer me to someone that you know if you don't know, like, and trust me. And meeting one time at a networking event is not enough for you to refer me. So until you know that I'm not going to screw up your relationship with whoever you refer me to, until you're convinced that I know what I'm talking about, until you know, like, and trust me, you won't refer me. So my job is to build our relationship. And
Nice.
maybe you never refer someone to me, but maybe I can refer someone to you and maybe I can help you.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking to further that relationship with the handful of people that I meet
Yeah.
and continue it and book the next call or book the next get together or chat on the phone or, see each other again at another networking event and continue that relationship because all we really have are relationships.
Wow.
It's all we really have. I speak
Yeah.
to people all the time in networking events that say, wow, this is the first networking event I've gone to post pandemic. And I'm
Wow.
like, do you not see the value of building relationships? I have not. I've been here 6 months. I have not yet generated a client from networking
Oh, okay. Wow.
yet
Huh. But
because I have to know, like, and trust. So I
yeah,
meet you this week and I say, let's grab coffee next week. And next week you go, oh, I'm tied up. I can't really.
right?
Maybe we can do it the week after. But
Yeah.
I'm building that pipeline and I'm
Mm,
building those relationships. I'm now cycling back around to second meetings with
good.
some of these people that I've met.
Yeah. And what about when you moved? I'm guessing you still have some clients. You're just meeting with them virtually. Okay.
I meet with the majority of my clients. I will meet occasionally if clients are local. I have a local client that came from one of my free workshops that I do at the Chamber of Commerce.
Ooh, yay.
About every third meeting, we meet at her establishment
Nice. Okay.
or lunch,
Yeah.
which is
That's
like a
really
working thing. But
wow.
yes, the majority of my relationships, my coaching relationships are virtual.
Okay. That's cool. But you said you're doing training for the chamber.
Well, it's not for the chamber. I hold it at the chamber. So I
Okay.
do a profit acceleration workshop to generate
Wow.
clients for me
Wow.
at the Chamber of Commerce because the chamber has this most beautiful conference room on the 14th floor looking over the river.
Oh
It's
my gosh.
gorgeous. And as a member of the chamber, I get to lease that space for free.
Nice. And so do they promote it for you? Do they send it out to
It's
members?
on their website. I don't know
Okay.
if it really goes out in the newsletter, but it's on their website.
Yeah.
And but I do all the promotions.
Okay.
I run some Facebook ads, and of course I invite people that I meet at networking events.
Yeah. That's so great. I love that. That's awesome. All right. Well, Debbie, thank you so much for being on the show. It was so cool. I love what you said about pathways versus roadblocks. That was really cool. And I love that you said you are doing a lot of networking since you moved. And that's not an easy thing just to, get out and know you kind of have to start over. So good for you for getting out and doing that. That's really
I
cool.
do like meeting people, and I do like helping people. So the networking doesn't feel difficult at all.
That's
You
nice.
know, I maintained enough of a roster to allow me to move.
Yeah.
So this feels like gravy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And I love what you said about the delivery of feedback. That was really interesting. We could probably have a whole conversation just about how feedback is delivered. So that was really cool. And also that of course, you talked about the whole, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how honest do you want me to be? I think that's so nice just to get that out in the open. That's really cool.
Well, it's the setup for feedback, especially if the feedback might be difficult to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what I'd like to do is give you a Know Like Trust report for free. So
Awesome.
I will send that to you. And if you like it and you want to use it and you want to edit it, change the questions a little bit, I can control the whole thing. So I could like customize your Know Like Trust survey for you. So
That's
I can
great.
send that to you. Yeah. And if you ever have a client who you think could benefit from a Know Like Trust report, that might be really interesting too as a tool for you to offer your clients.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so when you
definitely.
get it for you, you can read it and just see if like, hey, maybe this would be really good for one of your clients.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. This has been great. I love this topic. You're right. I could chat on this know, like, trust topic for hours and hours because I think every single business owner, that's the central piece to their business. Whether they're just having a billboard up that people drive by and walk into their place of establishment, but
Yeah.
every single business owner has to develop know, like, trust in order for people to buy from them.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah. And it's really interesting. Like, I know we talked a little bit about spontaneous feedback, but if you put a billboard up and nobody is responding to it, that's feedback too.
It
You know,
is feedback,
what do we need to do different? So yeah,
right?
and I'm gonna check out your assessment. I'm really excited to do that. That sounds really cool.
Cool.
And so we'll stay in touch, and we'll talk soon. So thank
All
you so
right.
much.
Thanks so much. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. I appreciate it.
Bye.